Dr. Ross, what are the current theories behind the clinical trials you're now conducting as far as causation and Alzheimer's?
The most popular theory as to cause of Alzheimer's disease is related to what is called the amyloid cascade hypothesis. Let me explain that. Amyloid, as I mentioned, is one of the proteins that we can scan for in people with mild cognitive impairment or mild to moderate dementia of uncertain cause. It is unclear what the role of this very, very small protein is in healthy individuals, but as Dr. Alois Alzheimer in 1905 described in a German presentation to scientists, he described a woman just in her 50s that died of a dementia, and he found what he called very unusual proteins in the brain, which were called amyloid proteins. One theory subscribes to an overproduction or an under-excretion. By that means you're making the amyloid in too high a level in the brain for reasons unsure, and or you're not clearing the amyloid out of the brain into the spinal fluid and eventually into the blood and then out of your system in the urine or the stool. Another theory has to do with what is called tau, T as in Tom, A-U. Tau, also like amyloid, can be found in every healthy human being on this planet. However, as Dr. Alzheimer also described in 1905, and what a Claude Wischik had described in 1988, I believe, is that in patients with Alzheimer's disease, there's an unusual twisting, a tangling of this stabilizing protein called tau, and it falls off the surface of what are called connecting rods. The technical term in the brain for these connecting rods are microscopic tubes. The term is called microtubules. These tubules need to be anchored together like a string of pearls. Look at the tau as the string that holds these important tubules together. Pull the string out of a string of pearl rods, then disassemble and aggregate into what is called a tangle. These tangles were described by Dr. Alzheimer's in the early part of the 20th century. A third theory has to do with an earlier event that affects the brain called inflammation. I personally believe it is the neuroinflammation of the brain that can be detected as early as 40 or 50, 10, 20, and 30 years perhaps before cognitive impairment is noted. And the earlier inflammation is recognized, and the earlier that inflammation can be quieted down in the brain, perhaps less tangles and less amyloid will occur. Those, again, amyloid, tau, and inflammation are the three leading theories contributing to the deadly disease that is called Alzheimer's disease.